part by Logitech G, Pay Safeguard, The Score Esports, Mountain Dew, and ESEA.
Welcome back to the best looking desk you've had all year. I have to say my hair looks terrifically awful right now, but we've got Sponge to make up for it, and YNK joining us again. This is the headline match of the night for me. This is one that I absolutely want to watch. It's a rematch of the finals in Kiev 2 weeks ago, or a week, I guess it's still only a week, it seems like forever ago. G2 and NiP, and NiP obviously winning that final, but we've got a weird set of maps here. You guys were digging deep into this for the statistics. We started on Mirage. When was the last time G2 played Mirage?
We had it up a second ago. No, these teams have played before Mirage. It's obviously not traditionally a G2 map. However, it's something that they, it looks like they're trying to bring into their map pool. If you look at their history, they've had some weird results on it where they've managed to beat SK when they were known as Luminosity before in big matches. So it's something that they can play under pressure, and if they can bring it into their map pool and they have all the tools they need to be able to play that map, it's just something they've avoided. That
would have been Pro League Finals, I think, in the best of 5 that it came out was the last time, I think, between them and Luminosity.
Was it ECS?
They played at ECS.
ECS, okay. Well. Yeah, okay, ECS. But that was, those are roughly, what, 3 weeks apart? So, yeah, back around that time. But regardless, I mean, it's an interesting map pool as well, because then we go to Overpass for the second one if needed. Well, I was going to say if needed. What am I saying? This best of ones. Come on, man.
It's definitely needed.
There's something about this seat.
What's funny here is
machine me.
What's funny here is that G2 doesn't play Mirage. I mean, the last time they played was in January. So if you get 2 vetoes, what did they veto if not Mirage? They vetoed Nuke, okay, let's say that. But what's the other map? I have no idea. Cash, maybe. I don't know why they would veto. Maybe you're scared of NiP, but why would you play a map that you never played?
So this is where you were asking this week, and you have the answer to this apparently. The veto system for ESL Pro League and the format.
I got it. I know
you
what
do
it is.
know how it is. Okay, so explain this for everyone, because there were some nights we played 2 maps twice,
Let me bring it up.
It's done a long way in advance.
No, first it was supposed to be like that. You have a home team and a away team, right? So one team vetoes 2 maps, the other team picks 3 maps, and obviously that's done blindly. So you don't know what maps the team A vetoed.
Okay. So it's not done blindly. I was talking to Cartman today. So the way it's done is, so say that I was the home team. I suggest 3 maps. You're the away team. You then veto 2 of those 3 maps, and whatever the remaining map is, we play. So it switches, so the first one is actually
G2's home. So there's an advantage for the home team still.
So they get to limit the pool, and then the other team gets to ban away the 2 maps, and they play the remainder.
So first you pick, then the other team gets to veto 2 of the 3 maps you picked.
So it's almost like you're playing the third.
Play the same map twice.
Well, I think that's been knocked out because, anyway, it doesn't matter. I just wanted to put that in clarity for this reason. Why are we on Mirage, right? So going to Mirage, obviously G2, we don't know them as execution. It's a very execution-heavy map. We know them as aimers, the way they've been playing lately. Not to discredit any, theory and whatnot that they've been throwing into the game, but that seems to be when they perform their best, when everyone's on. NiP, meanwhile, have Michael still in the lineup. He's a little bit more aggressive with the AWP. This is going to be kind of a home territory for him in a lot of ways. But if you go back, NiP never played it with him. They played it when they brought in Alu and Natu as coach.
Did they?
They didn't really. This was the map they didn't. They didn't start playing it until Alu showed up.
I don't know. I think he's comfortable on Overpass, at least from what we saw him playing with NiP. Even that game, actually, they play a Starlighter went into overtime. NiP only managed to win through overtime, and it was pretty exciting to watch. So, seeing as how the first map is Mirage, again, have no idea what to expect from G2 because we didn't see them play it. NiP historically didn't play the map as well. When they added the threat, that's when they introduced it to the pool. I remember in Katowice they actually managed to beat Luminosity on it, although it wasn't really I remember the match not having importance in terms of, teams already qualified. Luminosity qualified for playoffs. NiP already dropped out, so we haven't seen even NiP play it that much.
We were saying that G2, they don't want to get around that 9 to 11 loss. If you're in that kind of amount of matches lost, you're almost done for. So maybe this is like a play where nobody knows how we play Mirage. We can look at how NiP play Mirage, and we can prepare and we can counter-strat, and they can't counter-strat us. They need to try new things now to get these wins, and maybe this is their strategy going into this one. It's like a bit risky.
I mean, it's possible, but to directly counter-strat for an online match when you've got a bunch more this week as well, that's going to be a lot of counter-stratting for the rest of the season. I think the issue with G2, just to mention that, they had a really slow start. You guys mentioned slow starting this year and what it can cost you throughout the course of this season. They were in the finals last year, but they were really, really, really slow starting. So I mean, you better hope they counter-strat it, or do they actually think, as Yanko said, they've just been trying to pull it back into their pool slowly, and this is sort of them taking a shot that, you know, maybe NiP's not looking good on it?
I think, you know, you need to take these risks. It's probably a good idea that they're bringing it back into their map pool. It's something which, you know, Mirage is a map that was in fashion, what, probably 8 to 10 months ago. It was like hugely played, and now it's starting to fade away out of the scene. So now, if they're bringing it back, you know, they can use it in the veto phase to their advantage. And, you know, they have had good results on it, really. Even though they haven't been hugely tactical on it, they have shown, you know, they can play it in high-pressure situations.
Right. Well, with that said, we've talked a lot about the theory as to why Mirage is going to show up. Now we get to go see it. Do we want to do predictions? I know you don't really like them.
G2.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
I'll go with G2 as well.
So both going G2, even though they're the ones that are not often seen on this map. We switch things up, probably for the better, over toward the casting desk. We've got you a duo that's normally together. It's going to be Mitch and Pansy.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Yes, heading into a match here, Lauren, which is, I guess, essentially a rematch of the Star Ladder finals in Kiev between these two.
Yep.
Both these guys are kind of Dust 2 and Cash specialists, so going over to a Mirage seems like a very strange thing to be doing here.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited to see this. You know, when G2, some of G2, shall I say, many a moon ago, you know, some of the Very Games boys used to always face each other NiP on this sort of map, and it was always Very Games winning it back so long ago. I mean, the original Mirage version. So this is many, many years ago, but it was a really interesting game between them. But these two teams kind of faded away from it, having, you know, being in their map pool as prolifically. G2 most predominantly out of these two. However, I want to see what they come up with, because you don't walk into this blind, do you? You don't go, do you know what?
Well,
let's throw a curveball that we can't catch either. So I'm really interested, and let's see what both teams bring, because this looks like a nice piece being set up here. Because already Exist is going to be what looks like selling a bit of a kipper, but it could set up to be a play-through connector here possibly, but that doesn't look like the case. But Shox is already going hunting towards those B apartments.
Yeah, he's going to be taken down pretty quickly. We've seen this happen from a few teams earlier. You try and get the information. The same happened to Happy, actually, on the other night. Now Smith's now having to hold on from short. He's going to be pressured pretty heavily. The maximum of utility already thrown at A has drawn a few G2 players away, but nicely shut down here by Smiths and RPK. And now Ninjas, they have to commit.
Yeah, they really do, but there's only two players really here. Exist is still so far away. I don't think they can really stay alive to withstand this, and no, they can't. Not with Scream landing shots back to back. Leaving Exist, the man who put the smoke towards A to try and keep players present towards that site, is left just kind of catching up, and he's already been spotted out. The bomb's loose on the site. Things can't get much worse than this. And well, there's a deal kind of signed, sealed, and delivered.
It's pretty hard to sell a fake on a pistol in that way when you only got, obviously, a limited amount of utility. It's pretty hard to give a team any sort of impression. Still, all the utility that NiP had into that round was used on A. They pretty much had to walk clean on towards B. No dice for these two. And like the guys were saying on the desk, G2, they played this map twice this year. This year.
So weird.
They've lost them both, by the way. They lost once to Flipside, 16-4, I think 8 PM. They lost, I think they beat VG Cyber then. So way back at the start of the year, right? So really, just very, very interesting to see these two on it, but we'll get past it now and see how it actually plays out. Screen getting a bit aggressive here towards T-Ramp, fires one in towards the spawn. That's all the information that G2 have. They don't know about Palace here, and they haven't seen the bomb yet, but a kill to start things off is very handy.
Yeah, certainly a nice addition. Freiburg could be given a bit of a chance. There's two players just in the window, not going to land the shot first and foremostly, so he will be punished. Pretty much simple as that. If you're not going to land it quickly, you're done for. 3 players now remain: Michael, Forest, and Exist. Now, 3 players facing in mid, make it almost 4. They've got a chance to get some kills, but I kind of like the aggression from G2, not allowing them to get away with much, but Scream's having a bit of a mare there towards mid. Can't decide which weapon he wants, and now gets a little bit punished for this. And there we go, 2 kills picked up. It's not the biggest impact, but it's something for NiP.
It's interesting there, you know, G2 taking so much control of the T-spawn area, at least pushing down T-ramp. You think they maybe allow mid to be a little bit more taken over and know that they can just sort of watch connector, and that's sort of the only way NiP can approach A?
But you know what? I like seeing G2 being active on their CT sides, because this is something that people have been looking at quite recently, going, where have these guys been on their CTs?
It's been almost a meme.
Know? It really has been, but I like them being a bit more active. It's something that I always enjoyed watching them classically, but now we're going to see maybe it trickling into this game plan, and Smith is certainly going to have... Well, he could have had a much bigger time with that. Couldn't make much more, sadly, and that's a gun recovered. But again, it's only SMGs. But look at the reinvestment here. Scream and Body didn't buy anything other than armor and keeping the USP, so they are so confident in this round. This is quite dangerous.
Shox in a good position here as well. He's wrapped around, but I think it was actually spotted out by Forest. Now the rest of the cavalry will arrive. Another trade, essentially. Shox gets 2 for that one. But this is NiP without any armor here, and G2 having lost a couple players. Not a big investment, like you said. Forest almost getting caught out in the open, and he does eventually get pushed by RPK around the corner. So the first 3 rounds blow by without any real incident here, and G2 do find themselves with that fairly customary 3-round lead. Now we buy into AKs for NiP.
I guess the small bonus being NiP getting a couple of kills there means that they can at least get, a couple of mollies, getting that really nice purchase through rather than it being a little bit limited. You look at GetRight, unable to afford too much more than he had as he has right now. So the smoke goes up towards the top of mid, allowing the likes of Freiburg and Michael to come through and just get safely across if required. No one's actively playing window though. Look at G2's setup here. It's basically a 2-1-2. You've only got Shox holding connector, no on window. Smith's very passive on short, and Scream's got the AWP. Now, I think that may be spawn-based because he's up in Palace here, but that's a very unique sort of beginning. And GetRight, known for this kind of lurking intuition, and he crouches under, maybe predicting what could be waiting his way, and maybe inspects his gun a little too long there. Shox not going to let him get away with it, and we're back down to a 4v4.
Potentially a huge opening there for NiP. You couldn't afford an AWP coming into this round. However, they have control of mid. Smith's the only one sort of peering in their direction via short. He's already been spotted out, essentially. It's the bulldog of Michael to force him back to where he came from. So NiP at least can establish now. They have some control. Freiburg wraps back to get the bomb back in towards spawn. And now NiP have to make a decision. Is it connector, is it short, or is it even underpass towards B? They have some time to make this decision. It might even be the latter of those three. Freiburg's make his way through. Smith gets challenged out there, eventually traded through by Exist, who's going to push in with the rest of NiP, and now they will converge upon B.
Yeah, so far from ideal here for RPK. That UMP is not great at this sort of range. It does work, but nowhere near to the comparison of the AK in the hands of Forest, for example. Now, the B site's theirs. It's not completely safe, but it's safe enough to probably get a bomb plant here. Freiburg going to plant up for short, currently where Forest is waiting. Body could challenge that, but it's Shox right now closest to the action.
It's exceedingly good coverage, actually, for NiP over this one, but Shox comes in. No one's watching the door except from the side. Freiburg at least secures himself the trade, and that will leave Body on his own now, having to challenge from a very long angle up against AKs. Not ideal, but he has one himself at the very least. He's pressuring on towards Freiburg, but Forest comes out, and it is going to be Body. You can't see the wood for the trees because he's in a copse of them. And Forest can challenge him out there fairly comfortably. NiP, though, could have run away with that one. We saw what GetRight managed to do early in the round to defy the aim master of Scream with the AWP, but we had to see it ground down a little bit further to the 2v1.
Yeah, and G2's money's on a real rocky position here. You look at it, you've still got UMPs coming through for the likes of Body. So GetRight delaying the smoke a little now as well. So NiP maybe going for a slightly later hit towards mid, maybe just seeing if there's any aggression coming first and foremostly. G2 certainly known to like to try and get up and close and personal. Not going to be here this time, but 3 players playing towards it. So a 1-3-1 from NiP, maybe expecting pretty much this aggression throughout the map. So you've got one watching for that A push, you've got Forest kind of lurking over by B almost, and you're going to see the smoke going towards window. You could see one towards connector, the deep side if possible. That's that one coming through. So they can play up towards short if they fancy it. I'm not sure if that smoke's perfect. Yes, it is. There it is. It bounces straight in. So now basically that's allowing the likes of Exist to get further up. Body, though, has kind of overthrown this a little bit. This gives NiP mid-control, but where can they work from this from there? Because Body and Scream have really good control over A. And Smith could have had his kind of king share in the frags then, but he can't make much more of it. Freiburg finds Body, and these frags are happening so sporadically throughout this map. NiP still don't have the site under control, but again, they have mid.
So again, G2 push for information in towards T-ramp. They actually get onto GetRight, who was purposely waiting there, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was watching Palace, expecting someone to go, fast through there, considering what we saw from Scream in the prior round. He was caught out there, but NiP still managed to forge something out of the fires of the chaos. They get the kill in towards the ladder room. They trade out comfortably elsewhere on the map. And now again, they have the same decision to face themselves with. Do we go towards B? Do we just play this out again? It looks like that's going to be the order of the day. Shox will be able to rotate fairly quickly, but not quickly enough. RPK is put in the ground exceedingly quickly, and a flash in towards Kitchen will let Shox know that his presence has been noted.
And Scream is just trying to get somewhere where he can make a difference. But at this point, they're pretty much tucked in. And look at these after plant positions. So we've got Exist and Forest kind of facing towards short, kind of Exist being a little bit more careful than others, and Freiburg watching towards Palace. Shox could just bound in theory, but Forest will eventually catch him. He could only get a 1-for-1 trade unless he pulls off something nuts. And Scream knows he's in a predicament, but he does find Exist. This opens up the avenue, and there it is. Shox finds Forest, and leads it all towards Freiburg. But a stunning bit of control there towards Scream will mean they keep the round in check. And this is the Freiburg we're seeing more and more often, not only opening rounds, but closing them too.
It's really interesting, that position, actually. Freiburg, or at least an NiP player, was in it last round in the post-plant scenario, and that was the first player to die. I think it was Body, perhaps, inside Kitchen, who just peeked towards the right as he walked out and found him. This time, NiP set up in very similar fashion and managed to take it away. Ordinarily, that's great for the Ts. Normally, CTs, if it's a 2v3, the most you can hope for is a trade coming into that, but they got him very close, and it had to be Freiburg, to be fair, just to get some nice spray down. But now Body, a little bit aggressive. No, goes towards Michael. Nicely done. He's cut down by Freiburg there, who's in a position to respond from Tetris. And Shox has to be careful. This is a great spot to surprise from Palace. And there he goes, on towards that kill. It's going to be Forest to fall by the wayside, eventually traded through, though. It's just 2 players left.
A little bit manic there, let's be honest, from NiP. Getting a bit hairy in this one because Exist is on 3 HP. Freiburg's pretty low, but they have dealt with the threat accordingly. And there's the final man down. Scream going to be picked up by Get Right, and I like the idea from G2 kind of stacking out Connector a little bit, getting players up in paths, just taking a chance, taking a risk. You might as well have only got those pistols, so try and make something happen from it. But now we see something very, very cool. Michael Ailey bringing that AWP in. He's had a very quiet start to this game, but this is what he's been looking towards. This is the player I want to see make the big difference. He can be such an impact player on this sort of map. So again, it just seems to add even more fuel to the fire that is NiP here.
And for G2, this is one of maybe 3 strikes that really puts them in a position of economic peril now. So you haven't lost those last 3. Get very, very little from the pistol force, which is acceptable. Now, they do have to be careful. It's tough to play CT side from behind. It's incredibly frustrating economically. There's no ways for you to eke out any extra currency from doing things out and about, like planting bombs.
Now, I like G2 trying to put more players a little bit more dedicated close towards mid, so you've got kind of Smiths watching the underpass push towards Connector a little bit, the smoke goes towards window there, maybe allowing a bit more freedom between Freiburg and Michael Ailey. Scream as well watching it, and Shox was kind of dabbling with the idea of playing towards Connector. Not going to be the case. So basically it comes down to players like Get Right to play off the intuition, kind of feel when he can make the play through Palace, really kind of expose the pressure that G2 will feel, and Forest now looking through Connector, the smoke's still there, so he's just clearing out. Again, NiP getting mid control for free, basically with 1 player here after they do put down those initial smokes. They're all coming back around towards A. Shox can unravel this, but it has to be big. It has to be one of those Shox-style plays, and it can be nullified almost instantly.
Yeah, so this time NiP almost give the impression they're going to control mid and maybe work towards B, but again, this doesn't happen. Shox has to be ready. The late smoke coming in as well gives him a little bit more peace of mind, but Forest gets 1 inside Connector, just the 1 for now, but that might be the starter's gun, and it is. Shox is going to leap into the fray, jumping into the fog, as it were, but finds no one. He ends up on the wrong side of it there. Thought he was in Narnia for a second, but Exist quickly makes him realize that this was more than just a bad nightmare, and now Scream has to back away. Flashed down the stairs. Body and CT blocked off by smoke.
And they don't have kits either on G2. They have to be very active in this. That 20 seconds, they're about to trickle down. This has to be quite important for G2 to maybe get another kill, look for an opportunity here, because they can't really play retake too comfortably. No utility now. Things starting to look good for NiP, but the time is running out, and the crossfires are still very strong here. RPK finding his position. Michael Ailey unable to make a bit of impact. Means that this is all being cleaned up by RPK. Coming over from B, and it's Scream to close out the round. G2 finally stabilized. And I thought that was all going wrong then. As soon as Shox went in towards ramp and got picked up, you know, Exist dealt with him, I thought that was done and dusted, but actually they recover really well. NiP didn't have the smokes left. They didn't have that punch in the end to get towards the site. They got caught in the crossfire, and hell, G2's aim is certainly not in question here.
I think the vast majority of the utility for NiP was actually expended on just cordoning off mid and giving the impression that they were going to try and make a short play or get aggressive over on that part of the map. So then they rotate back towards T-ramp with no utility, hoping that it's just going to be a bit of a skint site in terms of personnel. But now Shox will challenge Get Right. UMP going to get the job done this time. The headshot actually off the back of that one doesn't get himself anymore. It's Forest desperately turning in his direction with the Tech 9. Will secure the kill. But elsewhere, Freiburg's gone down because Smith's got aggressive in towards mid. And now NiP, their options are so limited. Forest manages just to sneak by the laser defense array that is Smith. Exist as well going to head back the same direction, but he has to be careful. He doesn't know if the plucky Frenchman is still waiting for him.
And even NiP showing that little bit of presence, or them just spotting out Forest, has meant that the likes of Body and Smiths have to back away into more of a quote-unquote default position, but Body's pushing further. He wants to find out if they're actually going A, so they can be quicker on that trigger towards B if required, and keep tabs on what NiP are doing. Even not seeing them is information. Plenty saying to RPK, guys, they're not coming towards A. Care mid, Care underpass, and Exist teams up there with Forest, and they do get the frag. Now they're on even playing field. Now they have an advantage if they hit one of these 2 sites. It's all a guessing game. Where are they going to take it? And again, Scream with the AWP here. Curiously enough, picking this one up, deciding he wants to be holding down B with this. Still has utility too, so time is a factor, and they're going to run out of it here, NiP.
34 seconds left. Exist goes in towards mid there. NiP slant the ult in their favour just to try and get back into this round, and they have done so. Scream there, not spotting the player over on short now. He's going to look up towards apartments, and it's going to be Exist lobs a nade in his general direction. It lands in his back pocket, and Scream is going to have to wait on that one to the next round. Bomb goes down, and Body, the man flanking all the way through A, found plenty of information or lack thereof, but that was the same thing in this case. Has to do a heck of a lot, and I don't think he's going to attempt it. Salvage the AK, and slowly back away. Try not to attract too much attention. That will be the plan here. Absconding very rapidly away from the fight.
I think that sort of round really displays, to me, how good NiP are at their T-side on occasion here, or at least the kind of best way to play as the T-side exists then. The double face in mid with Forest,
really nice.
finding that kill and then working further off the back of it. They were able to spread the CT side so thin, even after they had the upper hand, G2. That was, in theory, their round. That should have been something they could have worked with, but no. NiP had no step towards that round. They'd lost out on that B push after you saw that aggression from Shox coming in. But NiP worked it back, they slowed it down, they split them up, spread them out, and they got those frags one by one, playing off each other really, really well. And you've got to be frustrated by that if you're G2, because now your money's trash. You've got 4K on Scream, sure, but everyone else is exceedingly low. 3K on Shox, RPK is on 1.5. This is dreary time, so they're going to opt to eco this, a couple of upgraded pistols, but that's it. And let's see how clean NiP can make this, because they need to stabilize here. Bearing in mind, 4-4s is still decent enough, considering G2 did pick up those first 3 rounds, but you want to start getting stable. You want to get a really nice buff on your T side.
We've seen that G2 have been able to obtain value with bursts of aggression on the CT side. Not such an option here, and I find it really interesting. The last 2 rounds, Body especially, he's been doing something very similar to what maybe Modi does on Heroic, where he will go into Palace almost every round and get the information and get the flank. Now, he's the only player with the AK, so he needs to sit back on this side and act as more of a turret.
But this is what you, I guess you can quote-unquote call as like an active lurker almost in that role. You're always just trying to pressure at the right time. You know, it's all about sense and feeling, something that people often give over to Modi as being one of the really good players to do it on this map. If he's playing through Palace, for example, just the fact that you can feel when the CT is going to be most uncomfortable, when they're going to be facing maybe towards connector, when, you know, your timing's right to try and get that frag.
Will do it as well.
Exactly. There's the deep smoke again towards the deep side of connector, cuts off the likes of Body, Scream, and Smiths from seeing the mid play again, and G2 have absconded playing mid. They've gone, okay, well, we don't have the weapons to face it, so let's just hold these corners, try and find a cheeky frag here or there, but NiP systematically taking over the map. 3 players through mid, 2 towards B, and again, G2 having to sit back and go through the motions on this one.
And B is just the most underarmed site for G2 right now. So it was a 5-7 of Shox. He got cut down. Now RPK's got nothing but the USP here. That AK of Body's not being put to use at all, and it won't be until any sort of after-plant situation does materialize. Smith wants to go in towards mid, but Exist is going to be waiting for him there in ladder room, and the reinforcements are being cut off. Nicely done by NiP. And we wanted to see them make this a fairly clean round. They've essentially done that here. Body, unlikely he really wants to challenge this one, and Scream holding onto the deagle here. And won't be willing to throw it into the fire or any situation that may cause it to be torn from his grasp. The existing Freiburg, though, they're looking. They want these guns out of the G2 players' hands. They want to put them in this economic depression, as it were. But Scream takes the head off of Freiburg, and that should buy him valuable seconds here. But he doesn't back away on that one. He stays in position, actually even moves forward a little bit. Waits on Exist to peek for him as well. An opportunity for Scream here as well. No armor for him, so he's got to be careful. Exist can cut him down, but we've seen what he's just done. But time ticks down. The bomb should go up here. Scream, though, still fancies to wager this pistol on getting rid of another gun on the side of NiP. Gets a good bit of damage, and he gets another one away. So not a clean round at the end for the NiP squad. Decent take. 5-man after the afterplant, but losing a couple on the backside.
Yeah, for me, this is just NiP playing mid really well. Their splits have been good. It's mostly been towards B so far. If that's, you know, where you feel comfortable, where you feel your players are kind of equating towards and you're getting the control off the back of, why not? But this, why, is Scream really the new AWPer here for G2? Like, don't get me wrong, Smith has been getting some flack recently, but that's terrifying. Okay,
Yeah.
we'll see if it works out again. I don't know.
I'm not hating this, and the reason why is that because we are seeing Smiths at least be able to channel a little bit of aggression through the middle of the map, and this is kind of the epicenter of NiP's operations, especially in the early to mid round. They try and secure this area. So a couple times we've seen Smiths be able to play from ladder room or even on short and catch NiP off guard. We've seen him come forward on multiple occasions to achieve such a goal. So yeah, I'm not hating it, but of course when you take your arguably one of the best riflers in the world, you put an AWP in his hands, you know, you kind of maybe not playing to your strengths here, but that seems to be the plan for G2, and so far it's netted him 4 rounds.
Now again, this looks like the mid to B so far. It can change on a dime if they get a pick elsewhere, but this time you got RPK and Scream pushing up a little bit closer on short, maybe just because they want to play off the back of each other. Smiths is holding passively towards ladder room, so they might be able to a bit more pressure, but maybe NiP feeling that out. They've still got plenty of time to play with here, down to 50 seconds. And Scream's followed this out. He knows what's coming his way, but Exist is getting some really good traction here, and Smith hasn't been able to stop it. There we go. Finally denies Exist the little step towards the site, but Scream out in no man's land. RPK can't stop that. He's only playing from short, but the bomb goes down, and now G2 can finally stop the rod. It's 30 seconds, though, and it's Forrest and Michael Ailey very far apart, and not with much step towards these sites.
With 30 seconds left as well, he's got no choice but to try and challenge out and towards RPK, who set his foot. The tank that he's known to be just is not moved. And it's going to be Michael Ailey now with nothing but an AWP. Decent money built up over the last couple of rounds, of course, with a couple blooper moments here for NiP. Means that Michael does feel himself here, but again, 13 seconds, I really say he would have only gone in for the pick and backed out there. There wasn't even enough time to really make anything happen, and he still loses the gun as a result. So RPK picks that one up happily. And that may well go over to Scream yet again.
And normally, let's put this into perspective. When the first 3 rounds go to G2's favor and they're sitting on 5-5, you wouldn't be too impressed or, you know, think they could be in a tricky predicament second half. But G2's T side is nuts, so I wouldn't put it past this being a very, very close game throughout. But look at this purchase from NiP's T side.
The direct response of that round.
Forest and Michael going for this. Freiburg exists just on a Tech 9. Okay, this is putting a lot of pressure on these picks to come in. Again, these rounds have been quite slow though, so I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe this is the plan, just slow it down a little bit, try and work these picks. Michael through Palace. It's a gamble, it's a risk.
Yeah, and it's also the implication of NiP losing 2 players towards the end of that round to Scream and his Deagle. They didn't actually have the money to buy on 2 of them, so a bit annoying. It was Freiburg and Exist who died there, so people just bought up guns for themselves and hoped to make it happen. Scream didn't expect to see Exist on the other side of the smoke there. A little bit of cookie spooks there, and unfortunately the Belgian is not able to respond rapidly enough. Shocks also falls.
The problem now is that Smiths and Shocks had both pushed up towards ramp, or like, you know, towards the more aggressive side, and it's very hard to deal with the split coming towards A when you're in that position. You had 3 players through connector, 2 through Palace, or 1 through Palace, 1 through ramp. It's just so dire to play in that situation. They're being completely passive in mid. They're never taking the fights. And now look at NiP's arsenal they've got in hand. 3 ops, maybe not ideal, but it's better than what they started with. The 2 Tech 9s have been fully replenished. Freiburg and Exist sitting on really nice rifles, but it's retake time for G2, and you can see what it's left down to here. Body in a 1v4. He's got the kit, I guess, and he's got a flash, but NiP know they've got this one in the bag, or at least they feel it. Freiburg already looking behind, seeing if he can deny Body be able to keep hold of this weapon. He knows their money. He's got to be on that kind of tilting point. And as I can imagine, maybe G2 are as well.
Well, he exactly is in this round. NiP, they managed to get back that round, and yes, G2, not great economically speaking there. A gun out of Body's hands means it's not great territory. Now with Shocks having a little bit built up, that's fine, but this is, well, dire straits, to say the very least.
And I'm just wanting to see maybe some mid-aggression. I want to see a little something. I don't know, you know, obviously sitting back here, I'm not the person to call to tell them what to do, of course. I'm nowhere near that position of power, but let's be honest here, them sitting back and being passive in mid's just not been working out. They've lost it almost every single time to NiP. Gun round or not, it doesn't seem to matter. So Shocks has gone full glass cannon, everyone else has upgraded. And it's back and forth kind of rounds here. It's not too clean cut at the moment, but at this point, NiP's money is getting better and better.
Yeah, this pistol force is, I mean, classic G2, to be honest with you, but not great. I mean, with Shocks falling early. That was the AWP, by the way. Now it's been completely taken out of the mix until a G2 esports player is brave enough to go and find it, but there might not be anywhere left, or anyone left, to go and try and hunt it down. It's going to be Forest now to get his pick. This double op still coming into play for NiP. They're more than happy to pick off challenging G2 players who want to make use of these pistols in close quarter scenarios. Another challenger stepping up to the plate, perhaps, yes, but he's going to win out this time. Trust Scream to get it done. He takes down Forest, and now Get Right does fall to Body.
Going in 1 by 1 against pistols, not probably a great idea here, but there we go. Michael trying to still find an angle. That smoke's not perfect, and RPK is actually looking towards ramp. He can catch out Freiburg unless Freiburg checks this. He does, but it still doesn't matter. And of course this is a round G2 win. Of course it is. Why wouldn't it be? That's clearly how it works. They lose out on the glass cannon that was invested in almost instantly, and then the pistols come through. My word, CSGO, sometimes.
Yeah, and not even that. It's that G2 wagered essentially the rest of their half on that round, money-wise. That was, we're looking at double eco territory there for the CT side. But, well, Lauren, they managed to bring it back, and they get themselves 2 AWPs for their troubles now. It's NiP who are on the wrong end of the seesaw, the one that's plummeting downward at a rate of knots. They've got 2 Tech 9s to work with. They definitely did show off a nice execution, though, in a previous round when they only had these, but they had a double AWP to work with here. Now it's rifles on the 2 Tech 9s.
All right, so Smith's the secondary AWPer now. Back on
as
that.
you do, yeah.
And Shock's going aggressive mid late. That Molly's still burning, and he can't really check underpass here, but he heard a couple of shots from mid, so they know that NiP, again, are doing this sort of mid-control play, but they have players present. They have those players pulled up at short, which worked out before, but Smiths doesn't land the shot that he needs to, has to go back in. He's only got a pixel to land it on, but this isn't ideal. RPK is still there with him, so he doesn't get rushed down. He's still safe from that. And NiP are now trapped in mid. Forest taking a lot of damage too. I think that was from the molly itself. So now for NiP not in a brilliant position. They're out of utility. So G2 have weathered the storm to this extent.
Forest paid, it was a transaction of health there to just have some time to peek in towards that connector to try and maybe catch someone peeking out. We knew that was happening earlier on, but Exist finds Smiths there. Not again. He had the AWP in his hands and he's made absolutely no use of it. He's made another meal, in fact, and now Shox in towards the spawn now, but to catch a few players out, but NiP have a chance to respond, and now it swings it aroundabouts, it's back and forth, and Body tries to challenge it mid for absolutely nothing. Lauren is tilted off the face of the earth.
I don't know how NiP are being able to be allowed to do this. G2 had such an upper hand. They had all those players pinned into mid that had no utility, no step back into this, and suddenly we're in a 4v1, and Scream's just going to peek out like that with a pistol in hand and gets punished. It's so frustrating watching G2. Maybe this is them just trying to get back in to be able to play Mirage, though. Again, they don't play it often.
Well,
and this is still
neither
does NiP to that extent, but again, I look at G2 and man, sometimes you look at the opportunities they have and you think it's got to be their round. Finally, they can maybe string some together, bound back, get the money finally by their side, because of course when you go back and forth on the CT side, your money is constantly screwed. And that's what we've seen here. They've been back and forth on these buy rounds. Lucky for them, they picked up one on a bit of a force up there with the upgraded armor and such, and upgraded pistols. It's just so frustrating to just sit there and watch. But hey, it's G2. If they are the heartbreakers as such, you start to believe in them, and they just tear you down. But NiP on a really good buy here. They've got pretty much everything they need. And if this goes true to trend, maybe it's G2's round.
Ocelot did say this week he wanted G2 to be simultaneously the most loved and hated team in the world. So sadly, I don't think he wants both attitudes from his fans, but that's another story indeed. So G2 a bit more sensible this round, Lauren. They're not really buying up any utility or armor. It's just Shox, of course, with a little bit there of Kevlar and his. We'll let them buy. And the next, let's have to see what they can achieve with these. We've seen crazier rounds from G2. Obviously, if you do know them, alongside Envy, they did have a proclivity for forcing the economy and actually making it happen. But NiP are not a team that's going to let you get away with that kind of shenanigans, and G2 probably know this to a degree. So again, another B hit coming out for NiP. Flash on towards the site. Smith is the one that's blinded. Scream's actually tucked in the corner, ready to spring forth if he needs to. Nice little shot from Smith. More kills than he's had with the AWP so far this game, to be honest with you. And now Scream waits for the push on towards the site, but get right, wise to it. Sees him, takes him down.
Starting to see that nice NiP anti-eco style of just cleaning things out very, very, smartly. Molly's being, beautiful shot from RPK, nicely done. Michael Ealy was low, and Forrest is watching this, but he misses the shot and opens up a chance for RPK to put. What is going on? How?
Like, I'm sorry.
That was really crisp.
RPK is the one that's getting aim punched into next Tuesday, and you still can't kill him. What's going on, boys? Oh, well, anyway, NiP.
It's Mirage between G2 and NiP. Things are strange here, Mitch. You know what I mean? Like, the universe is working against us.
It reminds me of Pentaphase on Cash. Just the same amount of WTF moments that we were exposed to there. But, I mean, class is permanent, like we saw on the weekend, if you're referring to VP. So let's see if they can redeem themselves now. Last round of the half, it's going to be guns brought up for G2 that I would cobble some money together from a bit more of a sensible purchase in the prior round. But again, it's NiP who extend for a bit of mid control here. Scream is forced out of mid. This time, doesn't have himself an AWP, so it's not the most star-studded buy. It's not exactly Gucci and diamond engraved. It's all about the rifles, and not the great ones at that.
NiP waiting to see if G2 will make a mistake. They're going to try and take as much control as they can and see when the response happens. That was a good shout, let's be honest. Smiths hasn't been holding it perfectly, but this time he comes up with what he needs. Takes down Exist. Now RPK can stay safe. He knows that he can maybe focus a little bit more towards B here, leave it in the safety of Smiths' hands, but NiP's starting to get a bit rowdy, and there's the first pickup for them. Freiburg finding Scream towards Connector. Where's the response? And you can see them looking for it. So already Freiburg spotting that means that, hey, Michael Ealy, you might be able to get on site here. Let's be honest. RPK's playing up on short, and there it is. A little bit of info goes a long way in this game, and you see it perfectly there. 4v3 now. It's down to the rest of G2 to try and bring this one back, but classically it's not gone well.
No, and it's going to have to be a retake. Shox has spent the last 30 seconds sort of circling around for the spawn. So he's finding himself in towards that B long now, and Smith's going to take down Forrest in mid. Smith's holding his ground this round. It's been a better performance from him by far. So now the 2v3. Shox finally makes it towards his destination. It's taken him most of the round being out of the gunfight, but he's set himself up in a very commanding spot. But Get Right going to get a bit aggressive here on towards short. It's traded out though. Shox catches him, gives away his position though, and now Michael Ealy knows there should be one on short, there should be one on apartments, and Shox gets pretty close, a little bit too close for comfort there. And a molly on the bomb.
Kit.
He's mollying the bomb as well. He's happy with that one. Oh, smoke on? I don't think so.
I don't know if he's got this. No.
The suspense is
No,
so real.
He doesn't have it. Even just those couple of seconds was brought. But let's break this down into perspective, because that looks like a decent half score-wise, but you take away the first three, or you kind of keep in mind the first three. You know, it went off the back of the pistol, but it can go both ways, of course. That is certainly a factor. You know, I'm not taking anything away from it, but in the purest of gun rounds, G2 weren't as maybe strong as I wanted. I didn't see anything unique from them just yet, but this is coming back into the map pool maybe. Maybe this is something they're looking at in the future, but let's be real here. It's always been G2's T-sides that have impressed us. That is where we have to hope for some redemption.
And on the same side of things, NiP pretty darn solid on their CT sides, but this is a map that neither of these two teams have plumbed to any great depth lately. Let's see what the second half has to hold for us when we return from the break. And it is the previously maligned CT side for G2, managing to amass themselves 6 rounds so far here on Mirage. But the T side definitely is a brighter prospect for them, but their opponent, of course, not going to be giving away too many free rounds. Although there were a couple of weird ones in the first half, Lauren.
Yeah, I think weird ones as a summary is certainly a nice way to put it. We had Scream being the new primary AWPer, Smith's the next big rifler. Yeah, things were a little bit strange in this, but it's Mirage. You know, you don't know what to expect between these two teams. Maybe hope for a bit of normality going into Overpass, which is the next map, of course, but we have another half to play out. My eyes are just set to what G2 does on their T side. I'm hoping that they come back in, we get that real strength, that real kind of flashy play where you see them just kind of straight into the sides. No messing around, you know, just a really crisp individual play that really does equate to this team victory that they can just pull together in this one. And I don't think Mirage is too hard to play out to that extent. You know, for players of this sort of caliber, I think they can pull it off. You look at FaZe, their T side with, you know, quote unquote more individual players works exceedingly well for them. Their T side for me, for FaZe, is very, very enjoyable to watch. I hope we get to see something to that sort of degree, but I don't know. You don't know much about these two teams facing each other because this is such new territory here.
And I mean, despite the fact that people have noted aptly at that Mirage doesn't really feature heavily in either of these two teams' map pools, it's something that is never too far from your mind as a pro player and a pro team. It's still one of those maps you do need to expect to pop up here and there, and you do need to be ready to play it. So, I mean, we haven't seen anything that would remotely indicate to us a lack of experience on this map, and nor should we from either of these two sides. Even G2 have given us a decent performance. I've enjoyed watching it thus far, but this is, to my knowledge, still half-time, people, so
yeah,
no stress.
Cool. It's okay. I know Rush's observing's bad, but it's not third-person bad. That's more my style. You know, that's more where I go.
Yeah, but then you can catch all the ragdoll and all the people doing the splits, though. I enjoy your observing.
Who doesn't love the ragdoll effect in this game? It just looks great. But yeah, I don't know. I'm still just looking to see what these teams have, because NiP, to my understanding of how they're playing out there, I really like their mid takes. I thought they were great. I think we didn't see many default A hits. We never saw those kind of 3 smokes up doing that default play in. we literally never saw
No,
that. So
they
kinda
defaulted
to B almost. It was up cat. Go and B. Again, when you're getting entries through that sort of avenue, why not push it, whether it be towards RPK, if there's a quick kill there, coming in from maybe the AWPing, or whether it's be a pick up towards Smiths on ladder, and wherever they may be, or where, if they find Scream, do they feel it better to cut off the rotate going towards B, and they play one towards middle with Forest with the AWP? Whatever it meant to them, however they read into it, I feel that they had a really nice display. I don't know if it could weather maybe I guess more top-heavy teams, or teams that are a little bit more robust, let's say, on Mirage. If you looked at more prolific teams on this map, I don't know if it could hold up to the same gold standard. But to me, it was a nice display.
Yeah, I mean, thing is, a lot of their rounds, like you sort of put it out, amounted to putting a lot of their resources towards the middle part of the map and smoking out. And a lot of the time, this achieved the desired goal for NiP, where G2 esports players faced them on short or faced them in mid, or tried to get aggressive and sort of had themselves picked up. But G2 had a lot of freedom to push for information through T-ramp there as well. So a lot of the time, the NiP plays were telegraphed on the T side. So for G2, following the pistol, of course, one that they definitely want to be winning to keep themselves competitive in this game, or even up the score, essentially, if they win it out. They need to see how they can unravel NiP at the seams when it comes to their holds on their sites.
Okay, so it's not just a straight-up B rush at all. We've got Shox going towards mid, flashes himself out. He has no armor and just upgraded the P250 for himself here. So taking the challenge towards window a little bit, showing some presence. And actually, look at NiP here. Forest and Exist both on short. Michael as well, and Exist to get off to a good start. And Freiburg's seen it all. He's seen at least 2, maybe 3 players. Now he's going to see the whole picture, and it's Exist again coming up with the frag. Forest falls, but this is good stuff so far from, should I just say it, Exist.
Yeah, I love it. Great stuff. Now, Body sort of left on his own here. It'll be pressed down. It'll be a nice little portrait on the wall there that summarises his existence in that round. But, 2 players pushing short for information, and then Freiburg makes the correct decision to keep himself safe and scarce on the site until they can respond from short and from kitchen. Pretty easily put together by NiP there. And that's really not a good sign for G2 here. That's putting it lightly.
Yeah, not ideal. You want to be picking up that pistol. That's something that bolstered them in the first half. Those first 3 rounds, nice and cleanly going through it, exactly what you need. But now they have the 3 smokes, so it looks like you're kind of, straight up A hit. The 1 smoke towards CT, 1 jungle, 1 stairs. They could switch it up a bit, maybe go for the closest smokes, try and play for the plant, which could be the next plan. But they've got the upgraded pistols and the armor, so you want to be getting as much out of this as possible. On the other side of things, you've got Gerite waiting towards dark. He still has a flash left. Actually, no, excuse me, he's towards the upper side of it. So looking to isolate Scream as fast as he can, but I wonder if Scream's going to check this. Timing is everything. Gerite goes down the ladder, he peeks right back in. He still had utility to play in this, and he gets overwhelmed. This is nice from G2. They've got a really good step towards the site. The smokes are in, and the bomb's being planted as we speak.
Yeah, Exist are going to cut that down. It was a bomb plant regardless. Still, though, he picks up Scream after the fact, and this should be NiP to win out this round, but G2 did manage to sneak in under the nose of the Ninjas, ironically enough, and get themselves a plant for their trouble. Gerite does fall. Interesting, yeah. Let's talk about that position for Gerite, because he's sat up just outside of Palace with a bunch of utility to work with. But that's often a one-and-done spot when you have a team that's playing aggressively towards the A side.
You can do the kind of flash from dark just above the ladder, and it goes over the top. I think I saw it first from Taz when he used to play that sort of position, and you can just blind the whole of Tetris. Well, no, you can pop, if you're facing the ladder, you pop flash over the top, and it completely blinds anyone facing from Tetris.
Yep.
And you can do one just if you tuck yourself to the right in towards Palace itself. But he only had 1 flash and a nade, but he could have still played that, maybe just wanted to see if there's anyone there, if it was just maybe Scream doing it. But, we have hindsight 2020 vision, all that, and it's, in the moment, he maybe just wanted to get what he could done. This, however, not a good start for G2. This round, well, they've got the Deagles, but they're just being absolutely hammered down, and the dunk
nade
from Freiburg comes in. 2 for him for the price of 1 nade, not too bad. Scream now in a 1v5. Again, a talented man, but this might be a bit of a tall order.
And a deco here as well for G2 means that even if, obviously, next round are coming through, expecting to probably lose the first 3 after the pistol, they're not going to have a ton of money. That's still a decent investment to make, that 700, where generally speaking, you maybe shouldn't be spending anything after losing the force following the pistol round. So the buy here is okay. Just that. I think it will probably just feature AKs, which, it's not that often that teams can sort of buy an AWP straight off the bat, of course, after those first few rounds being lost, but still, Scream. Yeah, the utility's not bad. It's not bad. It's enough to work with here, but G2, if they get held off in the first part of the round and have to make like a late round play or a late round execute, they won't really have the tools to do it convincingly, in my opinion.
I tend to agree, but we'll find out. Now, Gerite playing quite close towards ramp. And he's going to be watching towards Palace to exist. Doing the same. So not really watching ramp, but I guess they don't need to. They had faith that they're not going to walk through the smokes, and they isolate Body very quickly, forcing G2 to come forward. And now you're going to see these flashes coming through. Now you're going to see the plays start to unfold from NiP. And even though they're low, they're holding onto this, but it's down between Shox and Scream, the Danger Men, the two S's that can combine to become something great. And you're seeing it right now. It's Shox at the helm again. 3 for him, 2 left alive. Get Right is desperately low. 6 HP in the bomb. Well, it's not too far away, but can he find Freiburg? He's only got a UMP and doesn't even need the UMP. Gets the Deagle out and does the damage anyway. So somehow they withstand that round. That looks so close though, but the money's so nice now for NiP. Exist on 7k already. We'll have to rebuy this round. 6k remaining on Get Right, and the complete opposite towards G2. They're having such a rough start in this one, even with the plant coming in. You know, that buy round going by the, ooh, this buy. Not pretty. Shock's going straight on the rifle, so he fancies it.
He's got 100 though after that.
Yeah, he's fancying his luck on this one, 13-6, and he's going for it.
Well, Michael Ellie would have been the one facing him in mid-window there, and you may be Shox, and you may be one of the most ridiculously explosive players in the world, but Michael Ellie has been the X factor for NiP in recent times. That's not really a challenge you want to take with your most important gun. So, Deagle spot up, armor and helmet for everyone on the side of G2, so we're going to go ahead and call this a force, and this is not going to be great in their next round now. I'm probably hoping for a bomb plant at this stage, but that almost seems to be an afterthought here for G2, who have left it back in towards spawn. Now just want to get a bit of a contact play rolling on towards A. They have control. I mean, this is going really well. Somehow, Smiths and Body getting those shots in with the Deagles, now combining nicely with Shox on that AK, leaves NiP with 2 players left.
Now, the bomb's still down by ramp, so it gives it a little bit of time, but you don't really expect this position from Scream, and Freiburg won't expect it either, so he gets picked up very easily. That's the gun recovered now. Body's the only one left with the Deagle, and he might be able to even find something for himself on his travels, but it's going to be the long play. He's going to go around towards B. Michael Ailey finds Scream towards Connector. Okay, we're in a 1v2 now. Body's going to plant B, that's safe. Shox is watching the rotate. He's there purely to catch Michael Ailey out, but Michael Ailey's got to be considered. This may be an option, but would you check that box straight away? Would that be where he peaks? We're going to find out. It's all down to how Michael Ailey goes for this one, if he does.
Surely you check this.
I don't know if he's going to check that right side. And he does actually check it, but he can't land the shot. And now the problem is that the company's arrived. Body is now there, but it's Shox to close it down. And they recover north. They get the AK. And off the back of what was a very, very desolate round purchase-wise, they actually pull it off.
Oh, more 360s than a Call of Duty montage there for Michael Ailey after he realized he missed the first shot. But I mean, that's kind of the quintessential 1v2 you play into as a CT. You know there's got to be someone watching to rotate. So fairly astute from Michael Ailey, but unfortunately sometimes the idea doesn't hold up to the execution. And okay, NiP have had a few costly rounds here. So they've had to buy quite low, and a chance for G2 to actually quickly build a little bit back up. But possibly, excuse me, their last chance to really do this with any kind of alacrity. Following this round, if they lose it out harshly, they're in big trouble. And Scream, a beacon in mid. Well, they're not attracting too much attention, as you would hope. Smiths is with him there, interestingly enough, who has the AWP on this T site.
Yeah, so smoke towards window, face towards Ladderum. They're going to try and take mid, and I like this. You've got G2 playing towards A here. Shox is playing from Palace. Now he has to play off that feel, that intuition. Now that they don't have mid, do I want to start peeking from Palace, or do I want to start playing from that? We'll find out. Exist is going to put himself maybe down late by kind of jungle, peek into it a little bit more passively, help maybe Forest out here, who's quite isolated. He's very much alone in this position, and that's where Exist is going to go help. Now, Michael Ailey spots out the gun there and towards Connector. I'm almost certain of it, and he certainly knows where they are now. Get Right finding Scream is big hit. Shox, though, gets the feeling, knows the time is right, but in the meantime, Forest finds 2 towards mid, and we're left with just Shox again.
In a 1v3 situation, Michael Ellie's still quite healthy, and he knows he's just going to keep his head down for now. Forrest spotted the bomb out in Connector. He knows that has to be the next port of call for Shox. He's got 37 seconds remaining in the round, and Michael Ellie's going to make use of the fact that Shox has to contemplate his options, and possibly his navel in that case. Now he contemplates the brick floor.
Their money is so bad on G2. They've never been able to get that. Well, they've had maybe one decent buy off the back of, turning a couple of rounds, or a round, should I say. But yeah, this is not good territory. Look at this shoddy purchase. They need it. I guess they might as well, but oh, it's not pretty to look at. Body the only one with the real rifle. Everyone else on the pistols. They definitely can. They did before, don't get me wrong, but now Get Right's getting a little bit curious.
Don't you dare get near my A site.
Here we go. I wonder. That's going to buy time. They can't really play through that. Not in a perfect situation. They need to wait that out. So still, this is delaying G2 from making the hit they need. And the rifle with Body is going to go through Palace, so he should be able to make a play off the back of this. Get Right is completely flashed up. He's going to be surrounded. If he goes down quickly, there's a chance here. But he's staying alive, and he wants to keep himself himself alive in this one. It buys time for the rotate. Body will pick him up eventually, but now Michael is here. Finding Shox is the good first step for him. The bomb is down right in the open.
Yeah, all the incandescence there for Michael make it very hard to see through the Molotov. The flames block it, and Scream is going to wade into them and pick himself up the AWP in this case. Nana playing a 3v3. The bomb still yet to be planted. Body is waiting on this one. Goes for the plant. Freiburg not able to get the spray. It was actually exist from an off angle there. He has actually got the shots in from jungle, if I'm not mistaken. So it was a wallbang regardless. And a ballsy play if you're at that.
And there's no safe plant. Look at Forest's position. If he went ramp there, they can't plant for it anymore, so they need to find a pick here for G2. They really can't make the bomb plant happen at this point. They can keep faking out to try and draw players in. And here's Forest. This is his big chance. He spots it out. There's the no safe plant coming in. And the real control on the task towards Scream, trying to keep up with what he can do, but he's left in the 1v3 here to deny that match point marker.
Yeah, and it's not going to be enough. Scream had a few moments to try and pressure on towards Freiburg and Connector. He actually hit 2 wall bangs consecutively on towards Freiburg, but it was only enough to shave maybe 66 or 56 or so health off of him. That gave Forest enough time to rotate through, and that all started from Get Right surviving a lot longer than he really should have in that case. G2 not quick enough to the punch, and even the plant from Body not coming in remotely fast enough, getting wallbang down. I mean, from 2 different angles, it's like that Magician act where he puts swords in towards the box, and you're hoping to try and dodge it, I guess, if you're inside.
And G2 just going to go for a Hail Mary play. Just charge straight in. Do what you can. Michael Ailey's trying to run away. Tail between his legs. He finds Shox on the way out, but he can't do much more than that. That's already asking a lot. 3v4. G2 have the site. The Body's with the bomb, and he's in jungle.
That AWP that was dropped there is not really recoverable for G2 at this stage, not with NiP watching it, so they don't go for it, they can't go for it. Flash comes in towards CT, they're going to try and challenge this with multiple people. It works out, but Get Right, he's the doorstop here, he's the man that can stop this push through, but no, only one for him as well, and Freiburg now in a 1v3. Gets in towards CT, hoping for maybe a late pick, catch someone on the heels as they try and round the corner, but Smith has already had enough of that one. 2 kills, he's going to back up.
NiP's money isn't phenomenal either, let's bear in mind. These rounds have been pretty brutal both ways around. NiP have say maybe about 3 people when they've been winning these rounds recently, but the back and forth comes in. The CT side, it is punishing. So 15-8, G2, just that little bit of quickness to their pace, that little bit of punch. This is what you want to look at with G2. When they find that and they're able to execute that on a map, they become deadly. No one disputes that. It's if they can't get that sort of momentum rolling, if they don't have that unbridled aggression, it doesn't seem to have that same sort of punch to it. But again, this is still just enough for them to play with here. But as I said, they're against 15 rounds, so it's tough for them to pull this one back.
And for that exact reason, NiP are in no hurry to force. I mean, G2 had to make the pistol force earlier on just to keep themselves competitive in this game. It's not as if they were being rude or cocky about it, so they had really no choice. But Shox has a few options here. I don't think he's heard Forest jump across there. Forest won't see Shox in this position with the way he's crouched, so he knows that someone is checking. Very standard stuff from Forest, just to peek across. Eventually, Shox will probably challenge him out now as he comes back through. And he sort of misses his timing window, but he catches onto the kill anyway. It's a minimum of damage taken in response, but he just gets one in mid. However, Smith, the bomb carrier, manages to pick him up. Actually heads in towards mid, so options are plenty for G2 now with only 2 NiP players on the map. Shox peeking into a bit of a Fort Knox situation here, but Get Right doesn't go for the trade in that case. He still comes around the corner, so effectively it is. And now he's going to have a few targets. Presenting the spray was almost there. Almost, but not enough. Smith, with 17 health, manages to take him down. That would have been a clean 1v1 situation for Get Right, but no.
And that was kind of dangerous. For G2, they need to have kept players alive there. If they lost any more, that reinvestment could have got a little bit more worrying, but no, they're fine. They can rebuy to a decent standard. Maybe not perfect, RPK doesn't have that full band of what he wants to work with, but Smith's Body, Scream, they've got everything they need. Even Shox on the AWP now. So we've seen a unique set of AWPers, let's say, and a stack from NiP going straight towards A, almost good couple of nades put down towards ramp, and his Body, who might be suffering because of this, and Molly goes down behind him, just kind of baiting it out almost.
That. Yeah, and, almost baiting out someone trying to set up camp inside this T-ramp room. I like it.
Yeah, for G2, it's always looked like a B hit. They've had 4 players there from the start. They've been slowly and quite carefully working through it, and well, they'll meet very little resistance if they go right about now. But the longer they wait, the more players are about to arrive. Freiburg being one of them. He's made it towards the site. And the King of Banana up to some, well, monkey business, let's say here. He's doing good damage. He's found RPK as well. That's 2. God. This is getting worrying. Get Right, Exist and Forest are on the flank around the back as well, and they're dancing with time here, but they can't land the shots cleanly. Scream's eyes are trained towards that. Body keeps it together. And now Exist and Forest, well, they're not in the best spots to stop this from happening.
To go out on that note for G2 would have been absolutely unconscionable. But at least now they put themselves in a man advantage. He's just hoping to just get creeping up and get some kills. And Body falls in mid there, just heading straight up. going to allow Forest at least to take that AK away from this one now, backing up. I mean, if you're NiP, why not try and go for this? You've probably got some money built in to at least secure a buy for the next round. I don't think Shox saw... Actually, I don't think Forest saw Shox in that case there, but still he opts to go. I'm going to push around, but Scream will be there to greet him with a salvo to the dome. 15-10.
I almost hoped that Forest did show then, and that he did get spotted by the AWP, and then just chose to quickly try and challenge short out. Just, you know what I mean? Like, I'm here by window, don't worry about it, and try and get a little bit cheeky on that, because I know they could buy next round anyway, so I kind of like the idea behind it. But double AWP now for the T side, so Smiths and Shox running that. Scream not going to be the primary AWPer anymore, and Michael has the opportunity to now pick it up with armor and everything he needs, and NiP on a good buy. So this is the big round, this is the big one that we want to be seeing, and Smiths not going to get that lucky first chance, and Michael again the same, not be gifted that opening that they're desperate for.
Body taking some damage early in the round. And Freiburg, hearing gunfire across the rest of the map, decides to loosenade here. It's not going to catch Shox, he's standing too far back, but the obligatory smoke does follow. So Shox decides, do I push through this or do I back off? Probably the latter here. But the rest of G2, once that smoke does dissipate, will be executing on B by the looks now with 4 players.
And NiP have used a lot of their smokes very early in this. Again, they're down to a flash here for Freiburg. You've got a molly with exist, but only Michael really has the stopping power at the moment. He's got the AWP, so not really in a position to be doing anything with it. And it's pretty much just Freiburg alone at B here. He's got 4 players possibly coming his way that have molly still, that have flashes. This could be very tricky for him to hold, but let's see how well he fares here. If he can slow it down by some time, do some damage, that'd be perfect. And now he does turn the flash, and I don't know if they're going to check this. Surely they will. Oh, okay, Scream's spotted out. They're going to hear it now. 1-for-1 trade, but he sees maybe the plan unfolding from G2. Forest is quick on the trigger, though. Gets around there fast, but only to be met by RPK. And now 4v3. Make it 4v2. G2 are holding down the B side, but Geroy has other plans. Finding one, sprays in towards RPK, but the tank is having none of it, and it's down to exist.
Yeah, Molotov let loose towards Truck, but he catches a shot as he comes across there. That was Smith who caught him. His 2 AWPs, so now Exist has to play into these. Get spotted, get hit once, and you are done, obviously. Who gets himself out the window now off towards the side. Shox, none the wiser. Doesn't actually know if he's crept forward yet. This is going to force Smith to check the angle. And Exist might be closer than he expects, and he is.
He can do this. 9 HP on Shox. Mitch, this is very, very possible.
One shot, but Shox going to peek out. It's Exist that gets it done. He's going to win the game on the back of that one. Why not go for it when you're so far ahead? And nicely kept together for Exist there. Puts his team over the line, and NiP come out on top here on Mirage.
Well, let's be honest, this was a bit of a surprising map to be seeing between these two anyway. NiP seemed far more well-versed on their T side, at least to my eyes, than what we saw from G2, who individually had some brilliant moments in that one. We saw some curious things with the AWPing, who's deciding to pick that one up on the long run there. Maybe trying new things out, I don't know. Maybe just something they're doing for this map, I'm not sure. But again, G2, their T side seemed a little bit here, there, and everywhere for me.
Yeah, it was a bit messy. It's funny. It's kind of the opposite of their problem, but perhaps it's been screened to pick up the AWP as a bit of a band-aid to some of the CT side woes that have been experienced so far on G2, but that's just our thoughts. Let's pass it over to the desk for theirs.
Well, thankfully, I don't do much thinking, but I do have 2 people beside me who do. Guys, we said G2 don't really play Mirage very much. I think that showed. 9-6 in the first half wasn't bad, but it's coming off CT. It's Mirage. T-side lacked a lot of execution.
Scream was AWPing, Matt.
I know, I did notice that. Okay,
he bought the AWP 5 times.
Yeah, and Smith's the rifler, as you tweeted. I thought it was...
I don't quite get that, right? So if you have a guy who's the dedicated AWPer in the team, and you have a guy who's known for his fantastic aim, just because you want an AWP at A, you don't change the player who's using the AWP. You
change the role.
You change the... Well, you move Smith to A.
Yeah, the location. Sorry, that's what
like, I mean. Why do that? It doesn't make any sense. And the other thing, like, which I was really surprised about was NiP, their T side was just go through middle, just funnel through middle, not really worrying too much about smokes and flashes. Like, they're doing the very basic ones. They didn't do any exciting executes. G2 actually had more strategies, like full executes, but just looked completely lost in like after plant situations.
But I think that's where you see that G2 never doesn't play the map at all. And they actually didn't even play it twice in January. That was, it was G2, but that was the old lineup. That was when FaZe was still in G2, right? So this lineup of G2 didn't play it. And I think the problem is that Mirage evolved as a map on the T side. You don't see any of the teams that are good at Mirage nowadays go for those smoke executes towards the A bomb side, precisely because it rarely works. It's really hard to pull it off. It's not hard planting the bomb. The hard part is defending from the retake, right? Because you have to push the bomb side, it's pretty open and so on. So I think that's one of the tells that G2 was having issues. Yes, they did start a slight comeback towards the end of that game, but the timing from Xist here was absolutely insane, and he manages to clutch the 1v2.
Yeah, well, and I think it's kind of interesting you touched on the post-plant scenario as something that shows they didn't play the map very much, because it's one thing to go into it with a set idea. It's another thing to have the sort of experience on the map to play off of that. And NiP, I think it was a matter of coasting over the finish line. I'm curious as well if Smiths is looking to try, after making that post on Vecrum about, you know, I get a lot of hate, but it's because I'm playing more of a support role AWP. Do you think maybe he wants to try and get off the op a bit? Maybe it's his call to say, hey, maybe I just want to get some more rifle play, and maybe if I adapt in that way, we can try something new?
There's someone in that team who can pick the AWP up, and that's Shox, right? If you don't want a dedicated AWPer, that's fine. Just have strategies where you don't have a dedicated AWPer. Sure, there's certain maps where it's good to have an AWPer, so Dust 2, but Smith is good on Dust 2, right? So he can pick it up there. If you have other maps like Mirage, you don't necessarily have to play an AWP on that CT side. You can do mid-control setups with 3 rifles where you can take all the territory by using basic utility, and you don't even need an AWP to cover you. It's almost detrimental to have an AWP mid, because you just get smoked out every round, right? And they didn't even do any mid-control. Most of the rounds they got were off the back of like somebody having a pistol and getting a few nice headshots. The CT rounds weren't very clean, so they obviously have a lot of work to do on that map, and I'm surprised that we saw it still.
Well, that's the thing. We're surprised that we saw it, because we saw G2 were in a bit of trouble this season trying to claw back into it after a slow start. With that said, guys, we will take a short break. When we come back, it's Overpass. Maybe they're a little more familiar. Remember, it was a, overtime game in the final in Kiev to make sure NiP just barely creeped it out. Don't forget, though, before you go there, you can download the Score Esports application to keep up with everything, including, if you can't stay and watch this game, this next one on their lovely updated live scoreboard. So you can do that on iOS App Store or on Google Play. We'll see you in just a minute. It's Overpass to close out the night.